Step inside the world of mobile home parks like never before. On Trailer Talk, your host, Frank Rizzo, takes you on the ground across the country into the heart of trailer park communities, where real life unfolds one lot at a time. From the challenges residents face to the revitalization efforts operators are making, this podcast dives deep into the transformation happening in America's most overlooked neighborhoods. Trailer Talk is your front row seat to the evolution of affordable housing in real time.
And we're back with another episode of Trailer Talk, where we sit there and we talk about everything that's happening in the world of trailer parks and mobile home parks. Frank Rizzo here. Joining me today, Eric Busuttil.
How are you today, Frank?
Eric, I'm better now that I'm sitting here next to you, and I think you've been so down lately. That 100%. You've been so down that it actually makes me go the opposite way, and it got me amped.
It's Friday, Frank, and I've been here all day, and I know you had stuff to do outside the office today. You're just getting here. I'm trying to leave, so it's not down. Just trying to get out of here.
And of course,
You want to work till 9 o'clock on a Friday.
Well, I love working to 9 o'clock on Friday. And when you don't work, it's just like we're sitting here at the office having fun till 9 o'clock on a Friday. And behind the mics and the man that makes it all happen, we have Matt Bass. Thank you, Matt.
Woo! Thank you for having me, Frank.
So, Matt, it's been a busy week. It's been an interesting week. What is going on in the world of trailer parks, mobile home parks?
Let's see what's going on, Frank. Why don't I head to the MHP Exchange to see what's happening around the world? Okay, so we have 3 articles here. There was a barbecue grill fire in Tuscan. There's a mobile home park for sale in Centerton. Or we could take a look at the police increasing their presence at a mobile home park. Frank, what article would you like to look at?
You know what? I'm going to throw this over to Eric. Eric, I'm going to give you dealer's choice. Which one do you want to start?
Everybody likes to hear about a good barbecue grill fire, but I think we should talk about, police presence. I think that's an interesting topic, and especially if you're going to buy a park that has some issues, and you're going to look to turn it around. You're going to have some police presence. So I think that's an interesting topic that a lot of people would like to hear about.
Well, here's the interesting point. I mean, most towns, cities, counties, there is a stigma that is attached with most mobile home parks, right?
Yep.
Because most mobile home parks weren't built like other developments or multifamily housing developments were. A lot of times there was somebody who had additional land and they just built out lots over time. And as that has traded hands, they weren't typically real estate operators, but there was somebody who maybe inherited a mobile home park. And because some of the rules and regulations might have been lackadaisical, it sometimes attracted an element into those parks, which has given it its stigma, right? And I think that's probably one of the big stigmas of mobile home park investing as a whole. But we could tell from buying some of those communities, you actually want to see an increased police presence, at least in the beginning.
Absolutely. We've had, a dozen instances that I could quickly name off the top of my head that police presence helped turn around a community.
But that only happened because we proactively asked for that assistance, right? That wasn't something that just occurred. Part of our diligence process whenever we're buying a community is we're talking with the local sheriff's department, the local police department to see what type of police activity has happened or may have happened, occurred in that community.
Not just that, we introduce ourselves. We want to tell them what our plan is, right? And if it is a community that has that element, they're typically happy to hear our plan, and they offer a helping hand, right? And when they see that, we're trying to change a community around, they're willing to help.
Well, I think specifically, if you look at and I always look back to where this really took hold was in Byron, Georgia, when we had Grove Estates. And you built a tremendous relationship with the major who ran that county police department. What was his name again?
Kenny.
Right. And so when we had that drug dealer that was really, I mean, he was entrenched in the front of the park. I mean, tattoos on half.
Frank, what was his name again?
Eric just named him affectionately Tattoo Face because his face was covered in tattoos. And when we knew he was the issue, right? He was selling drugs to 5 trap houses in that park, and we were chasing him out. But you having that relationship with Major Kenny, he would come there on the spot, and he helped us get him out, knowing that we were going to be a willing partner, and we had a zero tolerance and zero tolerance policy, and we were 100% law enforcement friendly. I mean, that helped us out tremendously.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. There was, and again, in that specific instance, having that relationship was very helpful. You had someone there for a very long time selling drugs. Once he was evicted, which was a challenge in itself, right? He was living in other homes throughout the community, right? Because there was a business there, a drug dealing business. And, it's hard to get someone out of there when they have their business there, right? So, we called him regularly, and he got kicked out of multiple homes in that community. I think the final straw was he was dropped 6 miles away
in his pajamas
and told that he can't come back to that community. And we had what? We had a trespass on him. He wasn't legally supposed to be there, guys. It wasn't just, us telling him he had to leave, but, he was not supposed to be there.
Correct. But that was a huge assist. So when you see articles like that, sometimes that might be the owner looking for the assist. And if you're looking to invest in a mobile home park and you're turning it around, one of the important stages of that is making sure that you've done your research with the county sheriff's department to make sure things, what your plan is and what their assessment of the property is. So next article up.
So it looks like there was a barbecue fire in Tuscan, and it displaces 2 at the mobile home park. So my question to you guys was, have you guys ever had something like this? Have you ever had a fire in the parks?
We've had a handful of fires. I don't know if we've ever had a barbecue fire, but we have had a handful of fires. Frank was talking before. A lot of these communities are built without a master plan, right? And it's just a couple homes. Starts out with a couple homes, and then a couple homes get added. A lot of times these homes are very close to each other, right? Which could potentially be a fire hazard, right? So we haven't had any big trouble with fires spreading from home to home, but we have had a few fires in some of our parks.
Well, I think that's one of the key there is, and if you have a fire in a building, that spreads, right? So you can displace multiple residents if you have a fire in a building. In a mobile home park, these homes, even while they might be next to each other, there's still a distance, and it doesn't affect. And the first time this happened to us, and this was it was quite unnerving, right? It was in Mimosa, where we had a resident, and I think he was trying to. I think the word was he was trying, his wife left him, and it was a quasi.
He was going through a
tough time and quasi maybe suicide attempt. He owned the home, and he was laying in bed, and he lit candles, and I think he had gasoline in his bed. It was something crazy, and the house went up. And fortunately, he survived. He was burnt, and he survived. But even in that park, where those homes were close to each other, it didn't impact any of the homes next to it. I mean, I think somebody's siding was a little melted, which we've seen happen, but no other home was really impacted. And while he got out, I guess, from the smoke, he ended up, I guess, his something kicked in and he raced out the door. Thank goodness it wasn't a disaster. I mean, that home was toast, but there was no other damage to the community.
I mean, each community that we have rules, right? And a lot of these rules are put in place for safety, right? So, if people are going to be using, their grills, if it's a coal grill, they gotta, get rid of the, coal safely, right? To keep these issues from happening, which is, probably something similar to what happened here.
And it always gets me because people will put those grills really on their decks and really close to their homes. So that is a safety issue. And that's really comes down to a management, right? And making sure your manager is really diligent on letting people know what they're doing. But another thing that and we're from the New York City, so this isn't prevalent. But something else that just kind of you got to get used to is in certain of these areas where people burn their garbage, right? And so when they have time where they burn, and so you either got to designate an area where
It's so crazy because people who burn their garbage, like they know how to burn their garbage. Typically, like I mean, if I was to burn my garbage, I probably wouldn't know what I'm doing. But you do see a lot of people burn their garbage.
It's actually not that put your garbage on fire.
It's not for me.
Right? It's really not that difficult.
Well, Frank, I mean,
have a hose ready.
Yeah, nobody has hoses ready down there.
That's not true.
No, I haven't seen any hoses yet.
So moving on to the next story, we have here that it looks like the only mobile home park in Centerton, California, is for sale. And something interesting I want to note, and I have a question for you, Frank. So if you see this article here, reading one of the quotes from, I guess, the operator of the park, he mentioned that the offers that I have for the park are all from people that want to operate it as a mobile home park. He says it's possible, I guess, a developer might tear it all down. I haven't thought about this, but I think I should think about it. So my question to you, Frank, is do you see this often that people are purchasing mobile home parks to redevelop them, or are most of the parks that people are purchasing, continue to be used as a mobile home park?
So this is the industry's quandary, right? Because, and it's part of what makes it such a great investment to be in, and it's part of the challenge we have, I think, as a country with the affordable housing issues that we have currently, is that in a lot of cases, cities do not want mobile home parks because if they can convert that into multifamily housing, the tax base will go up for them rather than as a park where their tax base is typically much, much lower. And those parks, sometimes the highest and best use of the land is something else, right? And if the rents are too low, it's challenging to run it as a mobile home park. You can't make the infrastructure improvements if there's not enough income being generated because everything else has gone up. I mean, if you want to install new lines to do, sewer improvements, it's that cost is that cost. I mean, those contractors, and they're going to cost what they cost to do that. So you do have developers who will look at that land in certain markets and say, hey, is there a higher, better use for it? And sometimes they might be willing to pay more. So that is a little bit of a challenge that I think we have.
So let's face it, right? A lot of these communities have been built, 40, 50 years ago, right? 40, 50 years ago, it probably wasn't a better use to have an apartment complex there, or a garden style apartment complex or building. Fast forward 50 years later, the city's developed. I mean, we've ran into that on our own properties, right? Where, after buying a community, we realized that property may be better used as an apartment complex or, something different. So, people are running into that. To go back to your question, Matt, or to go back to the question that person had, was to reevaluate it yeah, you should definitely reevaluate your property and see if that property should be marketed to a developer. It is possible to find a different type of buyer out there that may, that unless you market it like that, they may never find you.
Correct. And I think that's one of the challenges and one of the unique investment theses of being in the mobile home park space is that there is a finite amount of mobile home parks in this country. I mean, somewhere between 43, 44,000 parks. Now, it's still predominantly mom and pop owned, but there's a lot of capital coming into the space now. And really, over the last 4 years, there's a tremendous amount, billions of dollars that have flooded into space. And so you'll see some parks in big markets, in larger markets, even in the last few years, the price has been elevated, the cap rates have been compressed because funds will end up buying these properties for cash and just sitting on them because they realize that it's a finite amount of housing stock that's available in the manufactured housing space. There's just not, the land and the acreage available to build out brand new parks in most markets, not in every market. I know there's some markets that are different, but in most markets, they're not going to be building a brand new park and to address their affordable housing needs. So if you have a park, that's why they become very, very valuable and why it's attracted a lot of new capital into the space over the last few years. But that's what's happening this week, Matt. I mean, any notes from you?
Yeah, man. So we just released the third episode of the second season of Trailer Park Turnaround. Why don't you guys take a few minutes and kind of give us a little behind the scenes, some,
So, part of the challenge that we've had over the last, I'd say 24 months has been in finding really good deals in this environment. And I believe we found a handful, but the vast majority of deals, when we go out there and looking at them, there's a huge divergence between seller expectations and buyer pricing when you look at where rates are, where cost of money, cost of capital is. So, we've been, we look to get creative and we're looking to find deals where we can create some value and staying true to our nature. And this was a deal that was a little bit different for us in terms of what we were looking to do, but we just felt like there was an opportunity for growth there. Like we thought if we could get in at that right number, there was a huge runway for growth and profitability.
So, Frank, just like anything else, over time, you do things more and more, you get better at it, you start to look at things a lot differently. Just make sure you're peeling back the onion on every property that you're looking at, guys. Especially when you're buying properties from a distance, right? There's many people out there that'll put in an offer without even taking a look at a property. I do not recommend ever closing on a deal without actually going down there and checking the facts out yourself, right? But there's a lot to know, and you have, and those brokers. I really like those brokers, but they weren't mobile home park experts, right? So the information that they had wasn't correct. It wasn't correct information.
But sometimes that becomes an arbitrage, and sometimes that can work in your favor.
Yes, absolutely.
And those guys were, you're correct.
It could work in your favor, but again, you want to know what you're buying.
Correct.
Right? So we didn't figure that out until we went down there and really dug
And so what you really have to do when you watch that episode, you see how we kind of look to peel back the onion a bit to see if we can make that deal work. I don't want to give it away, but it was definitely in a market you want to be in. It was in a lot. It was right out of Fayetteville. It was in an area that we were very familiar with. But wait till you see what happens. And I think there was a lot of great content there. So check that out. Trailer Park Turnaround. That is our YouTube series. And if you have any questions about a deal that you're looking at and you want to run through, click the link below. Send us a message. One thing we love to do is we love to walk through deals and we love to talk trailer parks, and that's why we got, that's what we're doing now at Trailer Talk. And you can catch this on the MHP Exchange podcast, and where we get this information is the MHPExchange.com. So until next time, Eric, any last parting words?
Nope.
Matt, anything for the audience?
No, I got nothing.
Until next time, guys, happy investing.